Are you looking to start your cloud architect career? Do you desire to learn AWS Solutions Architect interview questions? Well, if so, this video is for you. Hi, my name is Michael Gibbs, and I am the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Architects. And we're an organization dedicated towards building elite cloud computing careers. And today we're going to talk about some interview questions. In fact, we're going to cover 6 of them. And the point of these questions is to help you build your technical competency, because on interviews, we actually ask these questions to gauge your levels of technical competency, communication skills, and ability to present complex technical materials. So let's get to our questions. The first question we're going to ask is going to be related to storage. And we're going to ask you the difference of what is the difference between IOPS and throughput. We ask this because we find that a lot of people are confused by this, and if you're going to build storage architectures, you must know, because different applications require different levels of latency versus different levels of throughput. So let's talk about what IOPS is versus throughput. IOPS, or input and output operations per second, determines how frequently you can read and write to the disk, back and forth as fast as you can. That's the speed of disk access. IOPS is related to latency. The higher the IOPS, meaning the more read-write operations per second, the lower the latency. So NVMe drives and SSD drives tend to have relatively low latency because the read-write operations are very fast, or the IOPS are very fast. Magnetic drives, by comparison, typically have much higher latencies and much lower IOPS. But when you put a bunch of magnetic drives together in a RAID environment, you can still get great throughput. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But latency is measured in IOPS, and there's an inverse relationship between the amount of IOPS and the actual latency on the network. Throughput, by comparison, is the amount of stuff and data that can be moved at any one period of time. So if we were going to compare IOPS to speed, and it's not exactly the case, and let's say we had a car that could drive at 55 miles an hour. Now the car's throughput would be whatever it could stuff in the trunk or the boot, whichever country you're in. By comparison, if you had a tractor trailer or a freight train, and you had this giant space, and it was still traveling at 55 miles per hour, you could carry a lot more stuff, and the stuff is the throughput. So input operations per second is the amount of latency. Throughput is the amount of stuff. So for example, video editors need drives that have very high throughput because they're working with large file sizes, but they can tolerate a little more latency. A database, for example, that needs extreme speed in terms of read and write operations per second, but is not moving large amounts of data, needs a higher IOPS. So now you know the difference between IOPS and throughput. You know what hiring managers are looking for. Now let's ask a very specific AWS question. What's the difference between a network ACL and a security group? I'll tell you, when we interview people, this is a point of confusion, so let's clarify that. A network ACL quite simply keeps traffic outside of a subnet. It's just like an access list on a router. It keeps traffic outside of a subnet. A security group keeps traffic out of a host. So if this is your server and you apply a security group to it, the traffic that you don't permit will be denied and not be able to enter the server. So the real differences between a network ACL and a security group is the network ACL protects the subnet, the security group protects the server. Now there is one salient difference to know as well, and that is that network ACLs are stateless. And by stateless, and this is important to know, it means that nothing is tracking the state of the connection, which means traffic that's allowed in is not being monitored, so therefore you don't allow to return traffic. So network ACLs need to be applied in both directions. By comparison, a security group is stateful. It's like a stateful firewall. So you only have to enable it on the inbound direction. Why? Because it's stateful, and by stateful, it can see that the data coming in here to this host is destined to the host, and the return traffic is allowed out. Only the return traffic is allowed out because it's stateful. And stateful means watch the state of the connection. So now you know the difference between a network ACL and a security group. Now this actually starts to give us some knowledge of the person's data center knowledge, as well as their cloud knowledge as it pertains to storage. I always ask people to describe the difference between RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5, and RAID 10. And I ask for people to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of each approach, because as an architect, you're going to be dealing with this constantly. So let's talk about the level of RAID. RAID 0, or the most basic kind of RAID, is basically called striping. So basically, if you have 3 disks, disk 1, disk 2, disk 3, data gets sent to disk 1, disk 2, disk 3, disk 1, disk 2, disk 3, disk 1, disk 2, disk 3. And the advantage of this is when you have 3 drives, if you have 3 2-terabyte drives in a RAID 0 array, you have 6 total terabytes. And the speed that you get is equivalent to 3 times each drive because you're using all 3 drives in series. Write, 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 write. And you get lots of speed and you get lots of capability. Now here's the drawback or the weakness with RAID 0. It has 0 redundancy. So if you have 3 drives in a RAID array and one of the drives fails, you lose everything because your data is spread across the drives. So RAID 0 gives you phenomenal speed and performance, but it's got no redundancy. Now let's talk about RAID 1. RAID 1 is mirroring. And what RAID 1 is, if you've got a 10 terabyte drive in your computer or your server, you have a second 10 terabyte drive, and data is copied from the one drive to the other drive in real time. So if one of the drives is lost, the other drive still has all the data. You just break the mirror and you run with it. So RAID 1 has the advantage of you always have an identical, ready-to-use copy of your data, which is fantastic. The downsides of RAID 1 is you don't get any increase in capacity. If you have 2 10 terabyte drives, you only have 10 terabytes of capacity because one is being used for backup at all times. You don't have any speed improvement because everything is being written to one disk and the speed limitation is the disk is going to be written to the next disk at the same speed limitation in that disk. So you've got no speed performance. So you don't get any speed and you don't get any more capacity, but you do get wonderful, wonderful, wonderful availability and redundancy. Now let's talk about RAID 5. RAID 5 is the most common form of RAID in the enterprise environment. And what RAID 5 is striping with parity. Now, AWS typically doesn't recommend it on their network, but the entire enterprise world is running it, and I bet you they're probably running it on their internal RAID arrays, for which they sell as EBS volumes as well as S3. So, RAID 5 is, let's say you have 3 disks, disk 1, disk 2, disk 3. Data gets written on all 3 disks. So, but they also send what's called parity data to each on all 3 disks. So let's say you have disk 1 gets data, disk 2 gets data, disk 3 gets parity. The next time disk 1 gets parity, disk 2 gets data, disk 3 gets data. Ultimately what's going on is you're taking one of the disks and you're using it for recovery. So if you've got 4 disks, you've got the capacity of 3 because one of them is going to be used for recovery or parity data. If you have 4 drives in a RAID 5 array, you'll have 3 that'll get used. But if you have 6 drives, 5 out of the 6 will be used and 1 will be used for parity. RAID 5, generally speaking, has some very good performance in terms of throughput. But RAID 5 can actually add some latency because writing this parity data definitely adds latency to the environment. But RAID 5 gives you fantastic throughput. It gives you great redundancy because if anything happens, basically you remove the bad drive, you pop a new drive in, and you basically ask your RAID array to rebuild the data from the parity data from the other drives, and you are good to go. So RAID 5 gives you a good blend of speed, performance, and redundancy. Now, for people that need more performance and lower latency than you could possibly get with RAID 5, there's another option. The option is RAID 0. So we talked about RAID 0 basically being super fast because you're writing from drive to drive to drive. And we also talked about RAID 1 being the perfect backup. Have one drive here, it gets copied to another drive. So what if you could combine them? And that's what RAID 10 is. So if you have 4 drives in the first RAID array, and in RAID 0 you get 4 times the capacity and 4 times the speed. Now if you made another RAID 0 array, you'd have, again, the same speed and capacity. Now if you mirrored the first RAID array to the second RAID array, you'd have effectively one RAID array in terms of capacity and the other RAID array in terms of backup and redundancy. So RAID 10 is really just taking the speed of RAID 0 and it's blending it with the recovery abilities of RAID 1 and combining them together. And it is a fantastic way for high performance. The downside of this is it requires double the number of disks and it gets very expensive very quickly. The next question we're going to ask is another AWS question, and we're going to ask the client to describe the AWS shared responsibility model. Really what we're looking for is, does the client actually understand what is the things that the organization would manage versus what are the things that AWS would manage? And what we're really looking for is the cloud is nothing more than a virtualized network in a data center. And as an underlying technology, it's just a network in a data center. So as it stands, as a rule, AWS is going to manage the network and they're going to manage all their data center things. So what does that mean? It means the servers, the bare metal servers, they're going to keep them patched with their BIOS updates, operating system updates, hypervisor updates. They're going to take care of that. They're going to make sure that their physical network, the kind that you're riding underneath, is secure and locked down. They're going to make sure that their network itself has good capacity, good availability, good redundancy, and can survive cable cuts and breaks and failures of components. They're going to take care of all that for you. If it's a serverless environment, they're going to manage all the servers that are doing the serverless environment. And basically, they're going to secure the cloud, and you're going to secure your VPC and all your applications and services. So that's the shared security model. AWS manages the data center, and you manage your stuff. But we like to ask that to see if people actually understand it, because it's very important. Now, these next two questions are actually very important questions. They pop up in interviews. I'm going to include them here because lots of organizations, especially big organizations like AWS, are inclined to ask these kinds of questions. The first question of this non-technical bunch we're going to talk about is, tell me about a major contribution you made to your last employer. Why are we asking this? We want to know, are you the kind of person that goes above and beyond? So we've told you in the past what hiring managers desire is someone that goes above and beyond, someone that communicates well, someone that's energetic, someone that's enthusiastic, and someone likes to bring out the best in others, someone that's a problem solver. Do you know who does this? People that make big contributions, because people that make these contributions make big contributions to their employer. So that's what they're looking to find out. So tell them about a big project that you had. And you took the lead on the project and you brought resources from this department, this department, this department, this department. Talk about how you met with the customer, how you found the great customer requirements. Talk about how you designed something for the customer with the help of this large team. And it delighted the customer so much, not only they purchased the solution, but they decided to use many more of your solutions in the future, or something to that effect. Show them about something that you did that made a difference. That's why, work hard. And when you're working hard, communicate with others, always try to bring out the best in others, develop your emotional intelligence. All these things matter, because when you can make a big contribution, your contributions will be known. Not only be hireable, you'll be paid a lot more. And what you did in one company directly carries over to another company, so make sure you've got a good list of major contributions you've made in your career. The last question that we're going to ask in the same genre is to tell me about a major challenge at work and what you did to get past it. Now, there's lots of opportunities here. You can talk about a technology problem that the organization faced and an architecture that you designed to make it better. You could talk about a person that was on your team maybe that did not have the skills for the job and how you mentored them, and in the process of mentoring them, they were able to do their job and you made a great team, for example. Give them an example of something that was really challenging, not your average ordinary things, and show them what you did to surmount that challenge. See, we want winners. And winners are people that basically have had challenges and they overcome the challenges, they surmount the challenge, and they move on to the next great thing. So if the employer asks about a major challenge, tell them about a major challenge and then show them how you rose to the occasion, solved the problem, and how great it was for everyone. Let me tell you about some free services from the Go Cloud Architects community. We have twice per week a How to Get Your First Cloud Architect webinar. I will leave in the link in the description below. We do this every Monday and every Thursday, and we will tell you how to get your first job. We will tell you what employers desire, how to interview, what your resume should look like, the types of certifications that will get you higher, and much more. And of course, you will have at least 60 minutes to ask us questions, so we can do any kind of career coaching, and we do it free on these calls. We have them on Monday and Thursday. Every Tuesday at 9 a.m., we have a How to Get Real Hands-on Cloud Experience webinar, and in this webinar, we talk about what you can do from the comfort of your own home to develop real hands-on cloud architect experience so you can be technically competent and get hired. I highly recommend you do that. We have that every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Many weeks, and most weeks, what we actually try to do is we try to do a YouTube Live on Wednesday. So please subscribe, look out for these YouTube Lives, and you'll be notified. But we do this on most Wednesdays, where we basically make it a free Cloud Architect career question and answer session. We love answering your questions. We love guiding you. I'd rather you ask us a question. We give you some consulting, and in the process, save you 3 years of wasted time and effort. So anything we can do to help you in your career, we absolutely do it. We are actually going to introduce a new program, and it's going to be called the Ask Mike program. And what we'll do is we'll make a link, and you'll be able to find the link off of our LinkedIn page as well as our Facebook page, and we'll be posting it to YouTube at some point in the future. And you can ask us questions, and what we'll do is we'll make YouTube videos answering your questions. We want to know we're doing everything we can to help you in your cloud architect careers. If you are not certified, we have a free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate e-course. It's completely free. I'll leave the link in the description below. And if you're going to take an AWS Certified Solution Architect training program, please read a book too. So we have a free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate ebook, and I will leave the link in the description below. Thank you so much for watching this video. We look forward to seeing you in another video very soon. Thank you.